Dawson's Rentals.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with a little bit Power Rangers Lightning Collection news. This is a little bit old, it came out yesterday, so I'm sorry about the delay for it. Some Lightning Collection news, our first Lightning Collection news announcement in a while. It's actually been really quiet on that front, which I'll get to at the end. I want to talk a little bit about Fan Fridays and Lightning news at the end, but since you probably clicked on this video to know a little bit more about the announcements, let's talk about what they actually are. So one of them is a Lightning Collection helmet, which is Drakkon. Lord Drakkon is finally getting a helmet. That's our first comic-based one. I'm actually really excited for this. I know both of these will probably hit the too much MMPR button for some people, but Drakkon's been on the top of my list since the White Ranger helmet came out because I figured it was popular enough they might do it. I think it looks really good. I'm really excited for it. I would not mind at all getting something like Ranger Slayer in the future if it could actually fit like male heads as well. Like, because other than the fact that Pink's helmet won't fit my head, it's like my dog is too big, man. Other than the fact that Pink won't fit my head, I've actually really liked the helmets, so I'm pretty much excited for any of the helmets that will come out because they look really good on display, but Drakkon's definitely on the top of my list. So that's for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse and GameStop. The other one is an exclusive Jason Trini swapping pack. That sounds dirtier than I intended. Color swap pack from the Color Swap ARP. I'm weird in this one. A color swap pack from the Color Swap arc in Go-Go Power Rangers where the Rangers accidentally switched colors and it was like Red Ranger Trini, Yellow Ranger Jason. I think later it was like Blue Kim, or Zach was Pink and Billy was Black Ranger, I think. So maybe they'll do the rest of those in the future. And this again will probably hit a lot of those too much MMPR buttons. It does seem to have the more fixed versions of the helmets, which is nice. And honestly, the core concept of this, I'm kind of fine with it, because even though it's more MMPR, I like anything comic related. I think I'd probably be more excited for the 1969 version of the team, because I think Grace had a skirt, so that's such a small detail, but I would be probably more excited for this. But I don't mind these figures existing as is. You know, it's an easy release, it's whatever, it's related to the comic, so I like it. My main complaint about these is kind of more of a nitpick I have with the line overall. Like, I know the Lightning Collection comes under fire for a lot of things, some deserving, some kind of petty. But I do have my issues with it, and one of them is I don't know why we don't get comic versions of the heads. You know, because these versions have a like altered version of the show heads, like the 90s version actors. And I don't know why we can't do comic accurate heads. It makes no sense to me because they're technically completely different characters. They're not from a 90s time. They're from a modern time where they have actual character development. Not to mention, like, yeah, the likenesses are based off of the original actors, but they also do look different. I think, like, I would just personally like to get the comic versions of the characters represented, since the comic versions of the MMPR cast is my preferred version. But even setting that aside, the thing that frustrates me most about this is I don't understand why we can't get comic heads, period. Because Hasbro does comic and cartoon-like heads all the time for Marvel, you know, because they release comic-based stuff right alongside MCU stuff. Not to mention stuff like they just came out with the first wave of What If figures from Marvel's What If, which are done in the stylized form of the cartoon. They didn't try to make like live-action Evil Strange or like live-action Zombie Cap. They just made them the cartoon likeness. And they do other stuff, like they do the inverse of, they did like a live-action version of Kanan and Sabine from Star Wars Rebels, and even a sort of live-action version of Ahsoka before Ahsoka was even cast. So if they can do stuff like that, I don't know why we can't get comic heads for like Ranger Slayer. Drakkon, we got one because they used JDF's head, and I know that people have told me in the past that they use like the actors' likenesses for the helmets, this is called a helmet, for the heads, which is fine, but I feel like, is it not easy to just do a cartoon one? Because you do it all the time. There's so many practices about the Lightning Collection that bother me just on a conceptual level. Like, I just don't understand why. At the beginning of the video, I talked about how at the end I was going to talk a little bit about the news. Like, this was our first news we've gotten in a while. We haven't had a Fan First Friday in a while. To be honest, I've kind of liked the break just because there's so much fandom drama whenever one happens, and sometimes I just have a hard time dealing with all the award show banter for a couple announcements. But I think the Fan First Fridays are a good thing. It kind of shows they care, and it gives an opportunity for them to explain certain things in detail, and it generates more hype than just an email. But it has been unusually quiet, and I'm kind of curious why. Some people speculate maybe they're trying to sort of tighten up some of the QC since there's been a lot of like more major issues lately, so maybe they're kind of delaying certain things. I think that's kind of interesting. I kind of hope things get back to rolling good, but that was a weird way of saying that. I do kind of hope we have a calibrated balance, like bring back Fan First Fridays, but I also don't mind stuff like this where you only have a couple things to announce and I just get an email about it and I don't have to deal with all the nonsense. That's more of a personal thing, but I wouldn't mind that. But the bottom line is it's been really quiet. I'm not sure why, but what do you guys think of the latest announcements? What do you think of the fact that it's been so quiet on the Fan First Friday front? That's a fun thing to say. Do you want to see more Fan First Fridays return? Do you, like me, kind of want to see a balance with sometimes having a Fan First Friday and sometimes just having an email? Let me know in the comments. As always, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to see notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.